Hello, welcome to the Bookish Academy Awards. So I actually regret not planning a little bit in advance and dressing in a beautiful dress because that would really be to theme. But every year, Regan from over at Peruse Project does her Bookish Academy Awards, and I thought, why not do mine as well? Because now that it's March, it's kind of been a little bit of time since 2017, so it's a good time to look back at what do I think about those books now that I've had a bit of space from them to think about things and just have things settle in my head. So basically we're going to go through a bunch of categories that align with the Academy Awards categories, but are all about books. There's lots of categories, so we should just get going. So the first category is Best Male Actor, and for books we're going to go with Best Male Protagonist, and I've decided after looking through my 2017 books to go with August from the Monsters of Verity duology. So this duology is by V. Schwab, and August is not really human. He's a monster created through an act of violence, but he's trying to find his humanity. And I think of all the books I read last year, he's the one who struggles the most and really develops throughout the two books. The next category is Best Actress, so in bookish terms, Best Female Protagonist. And there were a few contenders for this, but I decided to go with Kate Daniels from the Kate Daniels series. Specifically, the 9th book, Magic Binds, is the one that I read last year. I admit this is my favorite series, so I'm somewhat biased, but Kate Daniels is just so kick-ass, so tough, but also throughout these books, she's just developed so far, and in this book especially, she goes through a lot. She goes through a lot in all the books, but I love this book and I love Kate Daniels. She'll probably win again next year as well. The next category is Best Cinematography, so this is the book with the best plot twist. Again, there were a few contenders for this, but I've decided to go with Three Dark Crowns by Kendara Blake. So the actual main plot twist of this book I did see coming, but there were a whole bunch of other things that happened in ways that I totally was not expecting. So I think that this book really fits the bill. And I also read the second book of the series last year, and I just have no idea where the series is going to go next. So as far as twisty plots, this series is great. The next category is Best Costume Design, and for bookish terms this is going to be the best cover. So I was actually surprised when I went through my 2017 reads that there weren't really that many amazing covers compared to the books I've read in 2018. There's already several ones that are just amazing. But I did decide to go with Cinder by Marissa Meyer. I think that this book cover is so memorable and also so intriguing. It's probably a large part of why I read the series, even though also a lot of people talked about the series. But I think if the cover hadn't been so great, just that kind of mechanical skeleton foot inside the red high heel, it's just really stands out and draws people in. The next category is Best Supporting Actor and Actress, and in bookish terms this is the Best Sidekick. So for this I decided to go with Janet from the Magician series by Lev Grossman, specifically the second and third books, which I read last year. I read the whole series last year. I didn't really like the first book, and then the next ones got better and better, and Janet was a huge part of why I liked the third book. So in the second book, Janet essentially gets left behind to look after the kingdom while the main characters go off on an adventure. And then it gets revealed that in the third book, she wasn't just sitting around doing nothing. She actually went on this amazing adventure, and she just grows so much as a character to the point where she isn't just a sidekick. She's really taking ownership of the story. And to a large degree, it is Janet who won me over in terms of that book series. So the next category is Best Original Screenplay. So in bookish terms, this is the book with the most unique plot or world. And for this, I went with Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This book was just so amazing, but it's also so difficult to talk about because of the reasons that make it unique. Because as soon as you talk about what this book is really about, spoilers everywhere. So Basically, high level, this guy wakes up and he has been kidnapped, taken away from his family. Everything's different. You can't talk about this book, but it is amazing, and if you haven't read it, you should read it. So the next category is Best Adapted Screenplay, and for bookish terms, this is your best book to movie adaptation. So actually, I don't watch that many movies, and I had a look, and I think that I only watched one movie based on a book last year, and I haven't read the book, so who knows whether it was good at adaptation or not. In fact, from what I've read, I think it was not very true to the book, but the weird stuff that they put in the movie is what I liked the most. So the movie I'm talking about is Enemy, which is based on The Double by Jose Saramago. I probably pronounced that wrong. I haven't read it, but high level, this guy is watching a movie and he sees this like extra in the movie who looks exactly like him. So he tracks this actor down, and then all this weird stuff happens in the movie. Some like really weird stuff happens, and when the movie ends, you're just like, what was that? I hear that none of that was in the book. I don't know, I found it kind of a fun movie, but weird. Like, is that really the ending? Like, really? Anyway, if you haven't watched it, you should watch it. It's kind of fun. Then the next category is Best Animated Feature, and for this it is a book that would work well in animated format. So looking through my list of books, I think the best one that I read last year for this would be A Series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket, which I pretty much like binge read the whole series at the start of last year before the Netflix series came out. Now the Netflix series is like, what is it called? Real life? There must be a real word for that. Anyway, it's not animated, it's real people acting it. And I just think that so much of what happens in A Series of Unfortunate Events isn't very realistic. And so if it was animated, they could really make things much more over the top than they can with human actors who have human limitations. So the next category is Best Visual Effects, and this is for the book that has the best action. And for this, again, I have to go with Magic Binds by Ilona Andrews. Kate Daniels series always have the most amazing action. Pretty much what drives the books forward is every scene has something happening, and the fight scenes are amazing. I know Ilona Andrews does quite a lot of research about different fighting styles to make them more authentic, but also just more interesting. So if you like action in your books, then once again, I would recommend this series. So the next category I'm going to skip over because it is Best Musical Score or Best Music in a Book to Movie Adaptation, and as I already said, I don't really watch movies, so who knows really? The next category is Best Short Film, or in bookish terms that's Best Novella or Short Book, and I'm having a bit of a fight with myself over this. I want to say that the winner is Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Sean Maguire, which was the second book in the Wayward Children series, and I loved that book. I think it meant so much to me. I loved the way it told the story, the themes it investigated. I think it's the best book in that series, but I did also read The Giver last year, and The Giver was amazing. But I do think that both those books are part of a series, and both are the strongest books in those series, and the rest of the series let it down. So The Giver was the first book, and then the rest of the series was okay, but nowhere near as amazing as The Giver. So I think I'm going to go with Down Among the Sticks and Bones because I think the themes that it explores are just much more relevant to life today. So the next category is Best Picture, and in bookish terms this is Best Standalone, and I already mentioned this book, but I really think it might be the only standalone that I read last year because I have just been focusing on getting my series up to date, so I've read so many series, but standalones would definitely have to be Dark Matter by Blake Crouch again. Just read this book. It's so great. And it's one where it doesn't need to be a series. Like, it's a perfect standalone. Everything is wrapped up by the end and just, it's a great story. Oh, I guess there should have been some fanfare because that's like kind of the Best Picture is like the biggest award in the Academy Awards, right? Because then the last one is just Best Documentary, which probably doesn't get that much fanfare in the Academy Awards, but in terms of bookish stuff, it is Best Historical Fiction or Non-Fiction. I don't read much historical fiction, and I didn't read much non-fiction last year, and I haven't read much this year, even though I want to. The year before I read heaps. 2016 was my year of non-fiction, but since then I've been struggling. But one non-fiction book that I did read last year that was really great is Switch, which I think the subtitle is like How to Change Things When Change is Hard, by Dan and Chip North, I believe. I really should have looked this up. It's basically a book about how to help make a change in the world. Specifically, I read it for work, but it kind of applies to everything. It gives you a framework for getting change to happen, but it also has heaps of like little stories and examples of companies and people who have managed to get big, difficult change to happen. And I just found it a really inspiring book. It really changed the way that I think about getting change to happen. And if getting change to happen is something that you are interested in, then I would recommend Switch. It's a pretty easy read just because everything is supported by these interesting little stories, so the theory doesn't bog you down too much. And yeah, that is my Academy Awards for bookish things that I read last year. If you've done your own Academy Awards, let me know and I'll check your video out. Or otherwise, let me know what books you would nominate for these categories. I hope that you are having a really great time reading some great books, and I will see you next time.